Do you have various baskets that have accumulated in your home? These are always good for storage, but they are also good for upcycled home decor. Find a basket that is rectangular in shape. Take a bit of strong twine and push it through a space in the weave of the basket, about a third of the way in on the long side. Tie the twine in a knot close to the top edge of the basket. Then create a loop by tying another knot in the twine about an inch above the edge. Using a straight edge and a level, lightly draw a line on the wall. Hammer 2 hooks into the wall using the level line as your guide. Now hang your basket on the wall. Since this is in our garage, I am storing lawn bags, grocery bags, and umbrellas for spring and summer. Then, when colder weather hits, this will be the perfect place to toss scarves, hats, and gloves. Find a round basket tray at home or at a thrift store. Then grab one of those inexpensive wire wastebaskets at the dollar store. You want the circumference of the basket to be similar to the widest part of the wastebasket. Take some twisted rope from the dollar store and start to wind it around the outer edge of the wastebasket, hot gluing the edge as you go along. Continue to wrap and glue the rope to the wastebasket until the entire basket is covered. You can leave the bottom of the basket clear. As you glue, gently press down on the rope so it lines up alongside the previously glued rope. Now take your round basket tray and apply a line of hot glue. Place the basket on top of the rope-wrapped wastebasket, whether for storage or for a buffet display. This is a great way to hold plates or napkins for entertaining. Remember those old tray tables from the 80s? You can find them at thrift stores. I found one tucked away in our garage. Give the tray table a coat of paint in the color of your choice with some spray paint. Be sure to spray the legs and underside of the tray table as well. Find another basket that is roughly the same size as the top of the tray table, but a rectangular shaped basket will work best. Apply some hot glue to the top of the painted tray table and place the tray basket on top, pressing down until the glue dries. Style your new basket tray table with the decorating magic number of 3 items. Try a stack of books, a green plant, and a decorative object. The next time you are at a thrift store, pick up some inexpensive wicker baskets. For a basket with an already dark finish, dip the paintbrush in the paint and then pounce or repeatedly press the loaded brush onto a paper plate to remove some of the paint. Take the brush and lightly brush the paint onto the basket in the main direction of the basket weave. Don't press heavily on the brush, but rather whisk it lightly against the side of the basket. This basket finish looks fantastic, styled with flowers or green plants. Now, take a wicker basket with a very light finish. Spray paint the basket in light layers with an oil-rubbed bronze color. Let the basket dry completely between light layers for best coverage. Using a couple of different paper plates is a good way to make sure you have the amount of paint removed that you want. Paint in light layers. You will notice that the paint dries very fast between layers because there is actually very little paint used. I hope this inspired you to give inexpensive wicker baskets an updated look with paint. Pick up a plant stand dolly that has rotating wheels and locks on those wheels. I found a great kit on Amazon that took just a few minutes to put together. Now, take a basket with a bottom that is larger than the plant stand dolly. Using zip ties, attach the dolly to the bottom of the basket at intersecting points on the dolly stand. If the weave of your basket is tight, it helps to bend the end of the zip ties slightly and also to use some needle nose pliers to pull the zip ties through from the bottom of the basket. Once secured, cut off the excess zip ties with scissors. This is now the most versatile basket. Use it as a laundry basket and wheel it into the laundry room when it's time to fill the washing machine. Or place a large plant in the basket and easily move it to the best light by simply wheeling it into place. Grab an empty cardboard box and tuck in the side flaps so they are taut against the inside of the box. Take some jute rope, nautical rope, or really any other type of rope, and use a hot glue gun to glue one end of the rope to the bottom corner of your box. It's a good idea to glue it just over the edge of the box bottom instead of flush to the edge so you don't get a frayed edge. Once the end has cooled and is secure, lay a line of hot glue along the bottom of the box. Pulling the rope with slight tension, lay the rope on top of the hot glue and hold in place until secure. Continue this same process until the entire bottom perimeter has been covered with rope. Glue and wrap the entire outside of the box with lengths of rope. Once you finish wrapping the box, glue the ending piece securely. Then, depending on the size of your box, take a decorative towel, sheet, pillowcase, or even a small tablecloth and line the inside of the box. This is a perfect storage solution for the bedroom, bathroom, or even a craft room.
The next time you come across some simple wicker baskets, consider these creative ways to decorate and store with them. I'm arranging some wicker baskets on the floor that are of similar size. Reaching for my full plants, I'm placing them inside the various baskets. Now I'm going to hang each basket on the wall in a few different ways. If the basket is large enough, I'm attaching the basket to the wall by screwing it from the inside. With a smaller basket, I'm using a handheld screwdriver to attach it instead. Finally, I'm inserting a screw into the wall, then simply hanging up a basket. With all the baskets now hung where desired, I'm positioning the plants inside each until they have a full and lush look. And the end result is an instant mini live plant wall that won't need watering. Next up, I'm selecting a smaller basket with a long handle. I'm unattaching the handle, reaching for a touch LED light. The basket is being placed over top of the small lampshade, instantly transforming a standard lamp into one with rustic personal charm. My front entry was in desperate need of a tidy-up. I'm removing the jumble of exposed shoes that are piled up under the entry bench, then sweeping underneath the area until it's clean. Choosing some baskets that fit under the bench, I'm sorting out all the shoes by how we use them. The older gardening shoes are being placed in one basket, while the everyday good shoes are being placed in another. Now I'm sliding each basket into place underneath the bench. This is also a really good time to consider purging a few that are no longer being used. I am leaving the area by the door basket free so I can place our most used shoes within easy sight. Since I also have some shelves with gloves and such in plain view, I'm going to beautify that area too. Each shelf is being completely emptied of all contents for a fresh start, then brushed clean. Now baskets are being outfitted onto each shelf to get a feel for what looks good. Each basket is getting filled with like-minded things such as warm gloves and toques, and in another, gardening gloves, so everything is easy to find. Now each basket is being placed on the shelves with decorative elements being added to pretty it up. The entry is now a well-organized and beautiful space, still housing all the same things, but this time everything is well hidden. A tall skinny cabinet in my bathroom, while serviceable, has all the essentials in full display, which isn't very pretty. To create instant shelves to my shutter cupboard, I'm adding some cut-to-size cedar strips and wood planks, slipping the boards into place, creating easy shelving. Selecting 3 smaller baskets, I'm placing 1 toilet paper roll in each basket, then positioning 1 basket per shelf. And the end result is a lovely cupboard with shelves that is fun to look at thanks to the interesting basket shapes and tones. With each basket different, they look like a pretty display. However, the extra essentials are right within arm's reach whenever they are needed. Lastly, here's a fun way to add a decorative element to your ceiling that takes up no space at all. I'm gathering up various baskets of different shapes and sizes. Gathering some different ways to hang each basket, such as twine, chain, or rope, I'm creating a way to hang up each basket. After installing an old window frame to the ceiling, I'm now hanging up each basket until the window frame is completely full. And you end up with a fabulous way to display all your baskets in an area that can use a little extra warmth.
Head to your local thrift store to pick up a woven wicker or rattan basket. Start this project with a paintbrush and some white paint to dry brush all over the basket surface to give it an aged look. Take a longer piece of jute rope and separate the weave on the bottom or cut through it to feed the rope through. Tie a knot on the inner part of the basket on the other side. Get battery-operated puck lights with a remote off of Amazon. 2 strips of Gorilla Tape and place them on the back of the puck light. Then place the puck light on the inner part of the bottom of the basket. Then hang this in your favorite outdoor seating area. There you have it, a cheap way to create your own easy DIY boho outdoor pendant light for your home for less than $10. I bought these baskets from my local thrift store for really, really cheap. And I'm really excited to work on these. So as you can see, I got a variety of shapes and we're gonna spray paint them to start. We're gonna start with Krylon Chalky Finish, Classic White. So I took my Krylon Chalky Finish paint and I sprayed, I want to say about 3 to 4 layers on my baskets outside. So there was plenty of ventilation. It was a nice day out, so spray paint was a viable option. It definitely took flipping the baskets upside down and right side up to try and get in all the little nooks and crannies with the spray paint. But it was a nice sunny day out and it was warm, so the paint dried very, very quickly. Now that we're waiting for paint to dry, I am going to be using this fleur-de-lis stencil. I know this beautiful stencil is very tempting to use the whole thing, but I really only want the fleur-de-lis. So I'm going to be using 2 different types of Deco Art finish paint. I have the chalky finish and I have a metallic finish, so I can give it more of an aged look. I'm going to use a little bit of spray adhesive, but first I'm going to take this outside so I don't spray fumes everywhere to keep the stencil in place so it doesn't shift. Going to take my stencil brush, get it into the paint. I'm going to dab, and then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to lightly dab onto the fabric. You could also use a foam roller for this, so if that's the tool you have available to you, then go for it. The dabbing portion is, to me, crucial because you don't want to put too much paint on because then you're more likely to get like a bleed under the stencil and it'll make your stencil look sloppy. All right, so I have this metallic finish Deco Art paint and I've started applying some of it to my fleur-de-lis. I'm gonna add a little bit more to add a little more sparkle. Just dabbing it after I remove the majority of the paint on my little tray. I'm just dabbing it, and then I'm going to use a blow dryer to dry this a little quicker. All right, as you can see, I have painted my baskets and now I'm going to age them down before we apply some of this French-inspired fabric. I'm going to use the same colors that I used for my fleur-de-lis. I'm just going to open these up so they're easily accessible, and I'm going to use the same brushes. All I'm really doing is I'm just adding a little bit of some aging. I don't want it to, I'm not trying to paint the whole thing. I'm just trying to add some spots just to make it look a little older and more rustic. I'm going to continue using this metallic paint around the edges of my fleur-de-lis just to give this fabric kind of more of an aged look to it. So I'm going to lightly dab. I don't want this to be very opaque. I just kind of want to give the whiteness of this fabric like a little bit of age to it. And these little sponge brushes are kind of perfect for this. Just gotta make sure that it's super duper light, so make sure that you are dabbing it before you apply it to the fabric. So now this is dried. I'm going to be kind of positioning this to see where I want to cut my fabric so that I can apply this to the basket. So I think it's like the perfect size. I think I'm just gonna cut the edges off and cut the bottom a little bit and cut a little bit off the top so that I'm working with a smaller piece of fabric. All right, so we're gonna have to take this spray adhesive that I'm gonna be using to apply the fabric outside to spray this on, so stand by for that. All right, now that this has been sprayed, I am going to add it to the basket. I'm gonna start from the center. I'm gonna work my way out. So we have our fleur-de-lis attached to our baskets, and our baskets have been painted, they have been aged, they are complete. We are gonna take them and put them somewhere in our home to display. You won't believe what you can make with some simple paper plates. Take 2 paper plates and use a hot glue gun to attach them on top of each other. Take a compass and a pencil to draw a perfect circle about 2 inches away from the edge of the plate. Take a straight edge ruler to divide up the circle into what looks like a pie chart. Take a pair of scissors and cut from the edge of the plate to the edge of each line drawn all the way around the circumference. Next, take a piece of foam core, a compass, and a pencil to create 2 circles. Hot glue the foam core circles to the center of the bottom and top of the plate. Take twine or thin macrame cord and a hot glue gun to begin weaving the cord in and out of each piece. Continue this process and slowly start to bend each piece of plate in a rounded and upward direction all the way to the lip of the paper plate. When finished, attach the lip of each piece of plate to the next with hot glue. Use a clip to hold together securely until it dries. Take a thicker piece of jute rope and flip the plate over, bottom side up, to begin hot gluing the rope to cover the rest of the exposed plate lip. The plate should be in a basket shape when you're complete with this step. Once the back side of the plate and the top of the plate lip have been covered with rope, begin working upwards, laying the rope pieces directly on top of each other that you've already glued. This is to create more height. Once that is complete, take the macrame cord, start at the center of the foam core base, and begin hot gluing in a circular shape, moving outward in a direction until the foam core is completely covered. Do the same thing on the bottom piece of the foam core. Take 4 pieces of fake floral stems and some floral wire. Create an X shape with 2 of the floral stem pieces and use the thinner wire to secure them in the middle. Wrap the wire around multiple directions to ensure it stays in the X shape. From there, take some wood beads and slide them onto one end of each floral wire piece. Use hot glue to secure the beads to the wire so they don't move. Twist the other side of the floral stems around each other and add a slight bend or arch to create the illusion of one thick arched piece. Finesse the arch basket handle shape to your liking. Take macrame cord and hot glue it around the floral stems, covering them completely. Take a long piece of wire edged ribbon, cut it in half down the center, create folds in a pattern that looks pretty. Attach it to the top of the basket lip with hot glue all the way around the circumference of it. There you have it. I hope this inspired you to try this crafty upcycling paper plate basket project.
You can use any size or shape basket from the thrift or dollar store, or you may even have one lying around at home. Start by grabbing a stool and adding casters to the legs. The casters can be attached with screws, epoxy, or heavy-duty double-stick tape. Turn the stool over and apply Velcro tape to either side. Use a ruler to ensure that the tape is evenly spaced on both ends. Attach the other strips of Velcro tape so that they line up with the tape on the stool. Flip the basket over and place it on the stool. Your cart is now ready to use to gather loose toys, folded laundry, and more.
The next time you're at Walmart, be sure to grab some skewers for this boho-inspired project. I've got 2 hoops here that are usually for wreaths. So I'm going to start with this smaller one, and this is going to be the base for the basket. And this is just an MDF ring. And I'm just going to put some hot glue around the ring like this and stick my skewers right into that. I'm not going to worry about trimming them yet. I'm going to put them on and then I'll worry about trimming them after I get them in place. So I'm going to line up one edge on one end like this so that I only have to trim one side over here. So you can do this in a few different ways. You can take a pair of scissors and just use the sharp edge to go around and just trim off your skewers like this. If any of them become loose, you can just add a little bit glue underneath. So you just want to trim them off, and then don't worry about if there's any uneven edges. You can just take a sanding block and give those a little sand. Whoops, and we'll stick that one back down so that they're all in place. Now that I've got those first few on, I'm going to wait and sand this at the end, but I want to keep going until I fill up this base with the skewers. I'm just going to keep working my way around now, adding a little bit of glue and adding a few skewers at a time. The base of my basket is all done now and the skewers are attached, and it's time to start forming the sides. So to form the sides, I want to use these longer skewers that I found, and I actually like the kind that have this little lip kind of handle at the end. They're going to make for a nice pattern. And the only thing I need to do with these to get them ready is I just want to cut off these little tips at the bottom. I don't want to cut off very much because I want to leave that angled part, but just a little bit to take off that point at the bottom. I'm going to use 4 of the bigger skewers to hold the ring in place while I'm working. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on these. Okay, so I've got my 4 skewers like this, and now I'm just going to attach them to the base. Now that I've got my 4 skewers in place to hold this together, I'm going to go and start adding the rest of my skewers along here. So I want to make a pattern, and you can do this however you'd like. I just decided I'd like to make a little bit of a pattern. So I'm going to do a skinny skewer and then one of the thicker skewers with the little lip around the top. So I'm just going to add a little bit of hot glue as I work and keep going around until I have it all filled in. Now that all the skewers are in place, I want to go ahead and start finishing off some of these edges. So I found this twisted twine at the dollar store, and I'm going to use this to go around the top of the basket to hide all those, and then I'm also going to go inside the basket. So I'm just going to cover up all those tops of the skewers, and I'm also going to do the same around the bottom to just hide all these bottom pieces. So I'm just going to use a bit of glue from the glue gun and just work my way around, adding this twisted twine right over the tops of the skewers, and you can see it like that there. So I'm just going to keep working my way around. Okay, and you can see the edge out here, how pretty that is now. The last thing I want to do to my boho inspired basket is add a couple of handles, and I'm just going to use the same braided jute twine, and I'm just going to stick a couple of handles on either side of the basket just to give it a cute little handle on either side. So I'll just cut 2 lengths of the twine, and then I'm going to attach one to either side just like this with a little bit of hot glue as well. I hope this has inspired you to grab some skewers the next time you're at Walmart and make this boho inspired basket. There's so much you can do with it.
Did you know you can create a beautiful gift basket for a housewarming or newly married couple with items from the thrift store? So the first thing I always do when I get home with stuff from the thrift store is I want to wash it. So I filled up my sink with some warm soapy water, and I washed everything that I could, everything that could be submerged. The next thing that I did was, before I started filling the basket and personalizing it, I found a piece of ribbon from a sewing cabinet. This is from an old gift years ago, and I decided to weave it into the basket. This is just creating a more custom look for it. I ended up buying a hand towel and a box of tea to fill this basket out, and so the cream ribbon also went along with the color of the hand towel that I had chosen, and also went along with the coffee mugs with their red and their blue with the white in between. So I knew it would match. And then added in the spoons as well, crossing them over again for some visual interest, and then added the whisk between. I added in that box of tea because the box was so beautiful. So it added in really well. So overall, this gift basket was less than $20, and it's beautiful.
Today we're going to be designing on this tiered tray, and I love working with these because it's something different than your typical centerpiece. So Alex actually picked this up for me from Target for $5, and this is going to be the perfect size for most places. So the first thing we need to do is create a support system, so when we work in our flowers, they're not just poked into the balsa wood. So what we have here is a brick of dried floral foam. It's not going to require much, and it's also not going to need to be incredibly thick. So we're going to cut this about an inch or so. And we'll cut one piece like that, and then we'll cut another piece for down below. So once you've done that, we're just going to take a scrap stem here and stick it into our glue skillet. Like I said before, this glue skillet has been used like crazy. We've done like 1,000 designs in it. So there's obviously not going to be There's obviously going to be like little things in it, but there's nothing like a fresh new glue skillet. So if you have a glue gun, I definitely recommend you start to use these because they're so useful and it makes life so much easier. So I essentially just painted a little bit of glue on top of the foam. Then we can come back to our container and just place it on like that. It's as simple and easy as that. So we're going to start with this foliage. We have this in stock at nicksseasonaldecor.com. And we're going to break this down into smaller pieces. And we're going to start with this as a nice base. So over the years, you've heard me talk about this here on Hometalk. One of the best things you can do is to start with a nice base of greenery because you're not going to end up using as many florals, and it's not going to look as clumpy because when you work in florals, there's definitely a time and need for them, and you easily can get heavy-handed and it'll just look like a mass of flowers, which honestly I'm not a huge fan of. So once you break that down, we actually just bend them while we work them in so that they're kind of cascading down below and not just sticking straight out. So again, just to recap, I'm just bending them down. And that little piece of foam is going to be more than enough for this entire project. So I see lots of designers out there work in as much foam as possible, which is a great idea for fresh florals, but with artificial florals like we're using today, you don't need as much foam because the foam is in place and it just becomes wasteful and you have to cover up a lot more foam if you do it that way. So we'll just take a few more pieces of this and work it in. Keep in mind at this point in time, you do not have to cover the entirety of your base. So we're not going for complete coverage. We're just going for a nice base of foliage. That way, when we work in our flowers, we're not going to overdo it with them. So I'll place another piece on this side and place up top. So we'll just dip that in, work it up there. So I broke down a second bush, just broke down a few of them. We still have about half that bush left, and we're going to work in a few more of these. Up next, we have a few dollar store flowers, and I'm actually really in shock this year because Dollar Tree released a brand new collection of flowers, and they actually look really nice. So what we're going to do is just break these down into smaller pieces. These are roses, but they're more like spray roses since they're so small. I'm not a huge fan of the fern that comes with them, so we'll actually not use that, especially since we're dealing with a smaller scale design. I don't want to overpower it. So we're just breaking these into smaller pieces. So that's one spray's worth. We also have this beautiful yellow that we're going to break down as well. So I'm basically just breaking the flowers in half. That way they're not nearly as long and they're not going to stick out too far. Because I don't want this to end up looking like a chia pet. I do want it to look like a nice composed design. So we'll start with one color at a time. We'll start with the purple. And if you've ever seen me decorate Christmas trees, you know this is the exact process that I do with that. Because I always like to start with one texture, one color at a time. And the reason for that is because if you kind of work in everything at once, what ends up happening is you get heavy-handed on one side, you run out of products on the other side. So by taking one thing at a time, especially if you're on a limited quantity of them, it helps you evenly distribute them without clusters of one thing and the lack of on the other side. So just taking the rest of these, working them down below. We can break down more if need be. We only have $2 invested. And if you really wanted to, you could actually just work in flowers and not greenery, especially since this one kind of has greenery within it. Okay, a couple more pieces. So that's what it looks like with 2 sprays worth. Let's work in more product. So my plan was to add a lot more flowers, but I actually really like how this kind of simulates a topiary with all of this greenery. So I'm just going to come back in with more of the same greenery and basically create 2 little hemispheres up top and down below with just this. And then if we want to work in more of those flowers, we do have tons of them and actually a couple different colors that we could work in if need be. But I really like this foliage, and I think it looks perfect in this. So I'm just taking it, working it around the sides. That way we don't see any of the foam. And so it looks nice and complete. Okay, and here's the finished look. I think this turned out so cute. So again, Alex picked up the basket from Target for $5. We used 1 full spray or bush of those roses from the dollar store, and then I just cut a few extra flowers off a second spray, and then we used a little bit of foliage that you can find at nicksseasonaldecor.com. So notice that we didn't go too high with either basket because we wanted to be able to define both of them and make sure that you notice that there's 2, separate designs instead of that just one piece.
I found this basket for a few dollars at a barn sale and love the color and look of it. I do want to make a larger hole though in the bottom, so I'm going to use this round drill bit to cut out a nice section that's going to take out that damage and create a hole. To add the lamp, I just need to thread the cord through the hole until the piece holding the light bulb is snug against the basket. Next up, I want to do something to cover this dark cord. In the space where I'm going to put this hanging light, the dark cord is really going to stick out, so I want to make it a little softer looking. To make the cord cover, I just need a piece that's going to be wide enough so that when it's joined together, I can slip the cord right down through the middle. Now that I have my pieces cut, I need to join the two together. I'm going to put them right sides together and use a piece of fusing tape to hold them together without having to sew anything. I just need to slip a piece of the fusing tape between the two pieces of fabric and then hold my hot iron on it for a few seconds to melt it. Once it's melted, the two pieces of fabric are fused together and I didn't need to sew anything. The tube is done now and I can slip the cord right through the middle. I need to slip the cord all the way in and push the fabric all the way up to the basket. Once I have it to the edge of the basket, I can turn the edges of the fabric under just to make it look a little more finished. I love how pretty this basket looks as a lamp and how easy it was to cover the dark cord. I hope this has inspired you to think out of the box for your lighting needs as well. Thank you so much for watching Home Talk. I'll see you next time.